Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Today's guest is Rahma Mahon, here to discuss PCOS, polycystic ovaries.
Ovarian.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome. Sorry. Understanding the diagnosis along with effective weight loss strategies for tips for a healthier lifestyle. Welcome to the show. We're super excited to dig into this topic.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here. My first question is, what is PCOS and what are the common symptoms? Because there are, different types of PCOS.
Yes. Okay, so basically PCOS, I think the first thing to know is that it's not a disease, which I think a lot of people, once they're told they've got PCOS, they're really scared and they think that's the end of it, nothing's going to happen, nothing good's going to come out of it, they can't improve it. So that's the first thing to know. It's not a disease, and a disease progresses in a very similar way for everyone. And like you said, there are different types of PCOS. So basically there are different symptoms that present themselves in individuals differently. And so that would mean the way that you would go about addressing it and possibly reversing the symptoms to the point where for some individuals, they might not even be diagnosed with PCOS. When they go back, revisit the doctor, they might not fit the criteria. So essentially what PCOS is, it is an over excess of hormones that are associated with male sex hormones. So you might see symptoms visually that might be like facial hair, thick facial hair, thinning of the hair. That might be one of the few symptoms. But also the ovarian, the part where it says polycystic ovarian. So that's the thing that's confusing. A lot of people think there's cysts on the ovaries. And essentially what that is, it's immature follicles, which basically means baby eggs that aren't growing enough to actually release an egg. And so you have that appearance. But this is the part where it gets confusing. So a lot of times people are diagnosed just because they see this on ultrasound, but it actually has to be combined with either the excess hormones, which are the male hormones, the androgens, or it has to be, again, combined with having, the insulin resistance and some of the other symptoms along with that. So yeah, in a nutshell, there are different types because it might be driven by different things. It might be different things that are causing this to happen.
You mentioned hair growth and things like that, but what are kind of the common symptoms of PCOS?
So weight loss resistance, so actually finding it hard to lose weight would be one of them. Missing periods or periods that are longer than 35 days, painful periods, but that again has to be combined with longer periods because essentially what's happening is, so when we go through, I'll describe a little bit or give a little bit of understanding about what happens when we are menstruating in the whole period cycle. So it's normal to have periods that are 21 days up to 35 days. Anywhere in between that is normal. But when your periods are longer than that, essentially what's happening is either your body is struggling to the main event, which is ovulation, releasing that egg for fertility, but we actually need our periods for overall health, whether or not we want to get pregnant. And so the body is struggling to do that. And so, sorry, what was your question?
We were talking about the symptoms. So like the common, you mentioned weight.
So the body is struggling to do that. And if overall the hormones are not being balanced, there are going to be many symptoms. One of them is struggling to lose weight. Longer periods, that is a really common symptom. Thinning hair is a common symptom. Having insulin resistance is one of the things that happens, but only 75% of the women with PCOS will have that. So these are some of the more common
symptoms. Yeah. Fair enough.
Lately, we've been hearing like a lot of,
diagnosed. I've been diagnosed.
Yeah, I mean,
it's quite common.
So the thing is, it's overdiagnosed and underdiagnosed, which is crazy, right? How can something be over and under? So it comes down to the diagnostic criteria. They've still not settled on one, which is, something that everyone agrees on. But what normally clinicians, doctors are using is called the Rotterdam criteria, which means you have to fit into one, like you need to have two of the three symptoms. One of them is the follicles that I was telling you about, the cyst, which is called the cyst, but it's basically just follicles that are not maturing enough. And so if a woman is not having her period because she's under eating, she's under a lot of stress, but she doesn't have these other two criterias, it could just be the fact that she has hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is something completely different. And it's not PCOS. But if the doctor is only doing ultrasound, then it might be mistaken for PCOS. So it's overdiagnosed, but also underdiagnosed at the same time because some women don't receive the right help.
That's why we need to discuss women's health more.
Yes. I agree 100%. Now, there has been a saying that, because of the vaccine that we have taken, a lot of women have developed PCOS.
Yeah.
How true is that?
It is true to a certain degree because with the vaccine, there is more inflammation in the body. And one of the things that drives PCOS is inflammation. So it can be true for women that are experiencing PCOS as a result of this. It's the same thing. If someone has been on birth control, it can also affect later on when they come off, they get what's called the post-pill PCOS. And it's not that they had PCOS before, but they're having all these symptoms, all the same things manifesting because they were on the pill. And the thing about the pill is it actually makes them more insulin resistant, which is again one of the things that drives the ovaries to produce more testosterone and causes again those, the issues with, again, if you have more testosterone, hormones are not balanced, you're going to have longer periods, or you might have periods but you're not ovulating. So yeah, it's a pretty confusing thing, but in a nutshell, there are a lot of lifestyle interventions that can be, put into place, and that is actually the first thing to do. So oftentimes I think they will be put on birth control. That's the, the general treatment for it. It is being put on the pill. Glucophage is another one, the metformin, which is a bit better, but the pill is not the answer because it's masking the issue. And when you come off the pill, you still have the issue. So you will have to deal with it. So I just think it's better to kind of get started a bit earlier on with, lifestyle interventions. So managing stress, sleep is a big one. And then making sure that your nutrition aligns with, what the goals are, the health outcomes that you're looking for, workouts, training, all of these things combined together make a massive difference.
I 100% want to talk about managing it, but so we've discussed symptoms, but should I be worried? We know that PCOS is common. Yeah. Does it affect infertility in a big way? And why are we being diagnosed with PCOS? What is it going to do to us?
Okay, so the first part, is that something you should be worried about is it affecting infertility? So infertility would mean that you're not fertile, but that's not the case. With PCOS, the problem is that you're not ovulating regularly. So periods are longer, but at some point you might be ovulating, or you can work on getting that ovulation back. And that's the thing that we need. So this is, I think, another thing that a lot of women don't know about. We can't get pregnant. Even someone with a healthy cycle, regular cycle, cannot get pregnant any day of the month. It has to be a very specific day, and it's once in the whole period cycle that you would get pregnant.
Yeah, so wild.
Yeah,
so wild.
Yeah, and so I think knowing that and knowing that you can work on the symptoms, reversing that, bringing the inflammation down, if that's the thing that's causing this for you, or if for someone it is insulin resistance, whether that's the one that's causing it for you, when you bring it down, you reverse your symptoms, you're bringing your ovulation back in a healthy, regular pattern, you can get pregnant. Also, it helps to kind of be aware of, body temperature, cervical fluid, because these are all giving symptoms and signs into when you're ovulating, so you can try at the right time. So in a nutshell, I would say if someone has PCOS and their cycles are really long and they don't know when they ovulate and they are trying to get pregnant, it doesn't help. So it's really good to kind of use something called fertility awareness method, where you're using these signs and symptoms for your body to understand when that's happening. And then through lifestyle interventions, you reverse these symptoms down to the point where you can ovulate on regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Is PCOS curable?
So we cannot say it's curable because it's like saying a cold is curable. Yeah. So if you manage the symptoms and you bring it down, you essentially don't have PCOS. But again, if you go back to old habits and kind of, stressors that will react in your body in a certain way, then yeah, that will start to manifest itself. But I also want to say it's not just lifestyle. It's also genes. So there are about, I think, 11 genes that have been identified. So it is that we have certain genes that cause PCOS, but at the same time, lifestyle can kind of either suppress these genes from expressing themselves, or it can kind of make it worse.
When I was diagnosed with PCOS, the doctor said, she was like, don't drink, don't smoke, eat healthy. And I was like, can you be more specific? And she was like, don't eat chicken wings.
No, that's very specific.
And I was like, I don't eat chicken wings, so that's fine. So I literally put the diagnosis out of my head. It was a couple of years ago, and I haven't really thought too much about it. Yeah. But could you be more...
a bit more specific and not take away your chicken wings, not that you eat them. I think the thing is with doctors, so they are trained in a different way, right? So what I do is I'm a nutritionist, I am a personal trainer, and I'm currently studying naturopathic medicine. So I combine all of this with my clients. And the thing is, you need to have this information, this background to be able to give nutritional knowledge. As a doctor, they're not really qualified in nutrition, so they can't give you specifics. I've heard all sorts of things from clients and what they've been told to do. And so in terms of how to kind of manage these symptoms nutritionally, you would have to adopt a diet. So again, firstly, I need to come back a little bit and just talk about the main drivers. So there are 4 drivers, right? It could be you've come off a pill and now you've got PCOS because of, what the pill has kind of done internally, the reactions. And then it could be the insulin resistance. It could be something called that's driven by adrenal, so like a lot of stress in the body, and inflammation, which, you know, some women that may have an autoimmune condition where the body's attacking the healthy tissues, an overreactive immune system. So you have to identify which one it is. And then say it's insulin resistance. You would adopt a diet that doesn't spike the blood sugar too much and then drops it down. So you would adopt a diet that keeps it kind of balanced. So I wouldn't say avoiding carbs. Actually, that is not the way to go. And I think it's very popular for people to think they have to adopt a ketogenic diet or maybe, you know, remove carbs. But actually, you need carbs because we need starchy carbs to support thyroid function, which then actually nourishes the ovaries. So, and at the end of it, it's the fact that you're not ovulating regularly. So the main focus becomes we need to teach our body and give it the right support and the systems to be able to ovulate. And so nutritionally, you don't want to be under eating. As much as the doctors will initially say you need to lose fat, the way I think about it is support the systems of the body. And then your body will react in a more positive way, in a more susceptible way to, okay, you know what, now I don't really need to hold on to so much fat because that's my protection. I don't need to hold on to it. I can let it go because I've got food coming in. So eat enough. Eat carbs, whatever you can tolerate, and the right kind of carbs. So starchy carbs, fibrous carbs, protein. You kind of want to start your day off with protein because, again, this is one of the things that helps balance the blood sugar. But at the same time, it supports hormones. So these would be, I would say, some of the main things that you need to do nutritionally to kind of start off with. And also, it's very popular to kind of count calories, but at the same time, you want to think about where these calories come from. So nutritional dense foods.
I have a question. Do some certain medicines cause, I don't know, PCOS?
I would say certain medicines, maybe not so much in that direct way, but I would say the hormonal birth control pill does. It makes you more insulin resistant, and that's one of the drivers. And again, it suppresses ovulation, which is what it's meant to do, right? If you're avoiding a pregnancy, you don't want to ovulate. And so as a result of that, when women come off it, it can take up to, for some, it can take up to a year, 2 years to kind of come back to a point where they no longer have that PCOS. So yeah, I would say if there's anything to avoid, that would be the hormonal birth control pill.
You mentioned there what not to do in terms of diets, like don't go towards the keto. Is there any specific diet that you would recommend?
I would recommend the Mediterranean diet, which is really basic, but I would modify it a little bit. So it's not that high in protein, so I would definitely bump up the protein. And I think an easy way to kind of figure out how much protein you should be having, I would say either 120 grams or you multiply your body weight or ideal body weight in pounds by 0.8, and then whichever one is higher, go for that.
Well, I'm sorry, but because, we have a lot of questions, with PCOS. So, of course, you mentioned the inflammation, right? And a lot of, I have friends who do have PCOS, and they are often, inflamed, and they have, something called the moon face.
Yeah.
So how can they, I don't know, have their body not
What's
be...
a moon face?
It's a very...
I think it got very popular, but I want to say, no, a moon face is just like you're holding more water and your body's not letting go of that, and therefore your face is more puffy. And that's a common sign of inflammation. But I would also say there are a lot of people that are just talking about moon face and how cortisol is high. But actually, if your cortisol is high right now, it's still not that scary, because if it was super low, that would mean your body has kind of gotten to the point where it's pumped out so much cortisol that now it's not able to do that. So the moon face, again, I feel like I really want to tell the women out there not to be scared of things like this. When you start to work on, the what is causing it, and that there is a possibility that you can reverse these things, I think really try and narrow in on that and really try and believe in that, because when you start to get scared, you're actually causing more inflammation, more stress, and these are the things that we don't really want. So that would be the message. But with the moon face and the inflammation, a lot of times these things are related to the gut. So a lot of stuff happens from the gut. If you've got a leaky gut, so basically you're eating something and it's going into the intestine, how would I explain it? So basically we have junctions that are tightly closed, and these open up, allowing things into the bloodstream that are not meant to be there. And so naturally your immune system is meant to protect you. So it's going to start attacking this. And in doing that, sometimes it starts to attack your own healthy tissues. And so you want to stop that attack from happening. So again, it goes back to the diet. You want to make sure you're eating in a way that doesn't cause inflammation, actually support the leaky gut. So you might have to go through a protocol protocol where you are stopping this from happening, sealing up those junctions again. But I mean, it can all be done. It just kind of depends on, again, how far along someone is into this. But again, how much would they be willing to stick to the changes that are necessary?
There's so much information there. You mentioned stress as a factor, and I just wonder, we are a work hard city. We're a takeaway city. Like, would you have advice for women out there with PCOS? Like, what type of lifestyle should we be living to ensure we're at optimal health?
Yeah, I think the first thing to know is stress, it's always going to be present, but the way that you react to stress is what matters a lot. So you might, I don't know if you know someone in personal life who's, got a lot going on, but they've got this positive attitude and they know like things will handle themselves, everything will be okay. I think that's an important thing to try and adopt, like your reaction to stress, and that you might want to look into something like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, work with someone who can give you these tools that are lifelong. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, if you constantly think about, I need to avoid stress, that doesn't really work, right? Because you're still thinking about stress. I think instead of thinking about avoidance, maybe think about inclusion of things that bring you more joy. Whether that is, spending time with your friends and family, taking on an activity that you enjoy, being present with those, and then you've got lifestyle. So sleep actually is one of the biggest antioxidants and one of the things that helps us release stress in the biggest way. So actually getting enough sleep. So that hustle culture of, I'll sleep when I'm dead, that's completely wrong. Don't do that as a female. Go achieve your goals, go do the things that you want to, but support your female physiology as well in that way, where you're being gentle with yourselves at time, and you're actually, doing the things that bring you pleasure, bring you joy, supporting yourselves with other women, men, friends, whatever. But I think as females, we know when we're around other females, we just get this different kind of maternal, feeling, and that's really powerful.
So I have seen, of course, I'm sorry, I'm going to be bringing up TikTok, Casey, but I've seen on TikTok like supplements like inositol, berberine, and all these things that are actually, apparently they do help with PCOS. Is it true?
Yes. So I would say some of the best supplements that can assist in PCOS is inositol, because it nourishes the ovaries. So again, we're trying to support that ovulation. Then berberine, it's really powerful. In fact, in a lot of studies, it has shown to be even better than metformin. So it brings down blood sugar. At the same time, it is antimicrobial, so it helps kill off some of the bad bacteria. But I would say if someone is going to go and work with supplements, because there's so many out there, I really would say work with someone, because the problem with using berberine long-term, like because it has that antimicrobial effect, it can actually also long-term in high doses kill off some of the good bacteria, which we actually need because we need it for digestion. So bacteria actually helps us digest some of the fibers that our body cannot produce enzymes for. So we need bacteria for many things. And so in using these things, I think it's useful to work with someone. But if you were going to work, not with anyone, you kind of wanted to take things in your own hand, I think magnesium is really, really helpful. It's a mineral, and a lot of people are deficient in this. So starting off with magnesium, I think my favorite type would be the bisglycinate. That would be my favorite one to use.
Bisglycinate?
Yeah, it's basically
or glycinate.
Glycinate or bisglycinate. So basically it is bounded with a type of amino acid called glycine, which makes it more absorbable, easy for the body to use.
A wealth of knowledge this morning, that is for sure. If anyone, I think we have to speak to professionals on this. I think it's better than to take anything into our own hands. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, how can they find you?
So they can find me on my Instagram. It's called Rahma Mahon, which is my name. And my website is under maintenance at the minute, but once it's ready, it's coached by Rahma.
And that brings us to the end of our show today. Thank you so much, Rahma, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's the end. Thank you, Farah. And we'll see you
Casey.
tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Bye-bye.